This is not a normal monitor. Its shape brings me back to the days of CRT monitors, but it's brand new, and it might just be my favorite monitor I've used yet. I wouldn't say the monitor is perfect for everyone, but depending on your use case, the LG DualUp might be the perfect monitor for your desk setup. Before I go into too much detail about the monitor, I want to talk about some of the limitations of Apple Silicon. The base model M1 and M2 MacBooks only have support for one external monitor. There are plenty of people who only ever use the laptop's built-in display, so that won't affect them, but there are plenty of others, myself included, who are used to a multi-monitor setup. There are some ways to get around the limitation, but they have their own downsides, so M1 and M2 users really have a limit to their screen real estate. Some people like ultra-wide monitors, which can be great for gaming. A lot of these monitors are 1440p, a middle ground resolution between 4K and 1080p. In gaming, that means you can get higher frame rates than 4K and a sharper image than 1080p. Unlike ultrawides, which take the 2560 by 1440p resolution of standard 1440p and stretch it to around 3440 by 1440p, the DualUp stretches it vertically, up to 2560 by 2880p, with a diagonal size of 27.5 inches. This is definitely a more unconventional way to increase screen real estate. It doesn't make sense for gaming. Well, most gaming that is. While it doesn't make sense for shooters or other modern games, if you're a big fan of emulation and retro games, you could find the DualUp to be a good match. The aspect ratio can offer you a larger experience that's more true to the original game, rather than having the massive black bars on the side or stretching the game to the 16:9 of most modern monitors. The monitor has HDR support, but it doesn't have the max brightness to offer a stellar HDR performance. It has a max typical brightness of around 300 nits. The DualUp even has pretty good response times. Normally, it's slightly taller than it is wide, but you can also just turn it to have an ever so slightly wider display. But still, this monitor isn't focused on gaming. This is a productivity focused monitor. It's quite literally the resolution of two 1440p monitors stacked on top of each other. So it's pretty great for multitasking. When writing, it's easy to have reference material up top or in the corners. It's hard to understate how nice it is to have this much extra screen real estate to work with. You can just put windows wherever you want. With its slightly vertical aspect ratio and 28-inch size, it's right at the limit of what I would consider a reasonable height for a monitor. Too much taller and the top of the display would require you to really look up at it, rather than it just being comfortably in your view. In terms of comfort, the stand included with the monitor is a really ergonomic part of the design. The bottom clamps onto your desk, and then you have a massive range of motion to position the monitor wherever you want without taking up any of your desk space. I have it about as close to the desk as I can, because positioning it any higher puts it out of what's comfortable for my line of sight. When I'm just writing, I tend to only use my laptop, but when I'm editing video, I'll sit at my desk, and the extra space of the DualUp has been incredibly helpful. There's a lot of extra vertical room to work with when editing, which is great when working on larger timelines, but it's especially helpful when editing any vertical videos for short, mobile-focused content. I can have all the panels I want up at any given time and use the laptop display for other sources. Of course, beyond general multitasking between different programs, video editing, and even gaming, it could be a great option for people who work with a lot of spreadsheets. If you have another use case for the display's 16:18 aspect ratio, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and while you're at it, consider leaving a like. Now, let's talk about the more Mac-specific use case. Unlike LG's ultra-fine monitors, made specifically for use with Macs, this one is designed for cross-platform use. Rather than using the macOS software controls for brightness and all the other display controls, you use the monitor itself. Thankfully, the joystick on the bottom makes it really easy to adjust settings. I switched off HDR and set the display mode to P3, which the monitor can cover 98% of, in order to better match my laptop and other monitors. Connecting to a Mac is straightforward, with just a USB-C cable, but you have a bunch of inputs on the back to work with. There's a display port, 2 HDMI ports, the USB-C port, a USB upstream port, and 2 USB-A downstream ports, and a headphone jack. And it comes with all the cables you could need. There's even an extension to the power cable so you can keep its massive power brick out of the way. The stand also has really convenient cable routing to keep your setup as clean as possible. Personally, I keep my keyboard and mouse connected to the monitor so they connect whenever I connect the USB-C cable to my computer. And that USB-C cable can also keep my laptop powered up. With all the ports, you can even treat the DualUp as 2 separate monitors, using one input for the top 2560 by 1440 pixels and another input for the bottom 2560 by 1440 pixels. If you're a streamer, maybe you use the bottom for a console input and the top for a computer input to monitor chat and streaming. The DualUp has a lot more versatility than most Mac-focused monitors you're used to. It has built-in speakers, but frankly, I never use them. I'm always using a pair of headphones or other dedicated speakers. Obviously, I've had a great time with the DualUp in my M2 MacBook Air, but I can't quite say it's the perfect companion to the laptop. There are 2 downsides that should definitely be considered. First off, the resolution. For me, sitting at a desk from a reasonable distance, the double 1440p resolution is enough. It's not a low enough pixel density to cause any issues. It's a lower pixel density than the MacBook's display and lower pixel density than the Studio display, and that should definitely be kept in mind, but given the unique aspect ratio, I definitely don't find it a deal breaker. The other downside certainly could be a deal breaker. With the MacBook, you have a glossy display. It's reflective but offers great color. With the LG DualUp, you have a matte display. Both display types have their advantages in different lighting conditions, with some people preferring matte and some people preferring gloss, but when mixing the gloss and matte displays, the colors between the two, even if they're calibrated to match each other, can look different depending on the lighting in the room. If you're using both the built-in display and the DualUp, that could be a big downside. But if you connect your Mac to the display and just use the DualUp, or if you use the DualUp alongside other matte monitors, it shouldn't be an issue. For me, it's not a big deal. When I'm editing on this monitor, my focus is on this monitor, and I probably have a browser window over on my laptop. All things considered, the DualUp is one of my favorite monitors I've used. There are plenty of great monitors out there for other use cases, but I haven't used anything that matches the productivity and multitasking ability provided to the MacBook Air from this monitor. If you think the monitor is a good fit for you, check it out through the link down in the video description. If this video helped you out, consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel for more from 9to5Mac.